It was a Monday morning, gray and heavy, the kind of morning where silence sticks to the walls like damp air. The kitchen smelled of burnt waffles and overbrewed coffee. CNN murmured in the background, while Max, our golden retriever, lay curled near the door, unaware that everything was about to shift. I sat at the table newspaper, in hand coffee steaming at my elbow. It was all so normal, but the kind of normal that hides a crack beneath the surface. Melissa stood across from me in her robe, her hand shaking ever so slightly as she set her mug down harder than necessary. I didn't flinch. I just turned the page, eyes trailing the Panthers' score from Sunday. "Jack," she said. The name landed like a slap. I looked up just enough to meet her eyes. They were cold. Not nervous, not guilty, just cold. I want a divorce. No thunder, no tears. Just that, like she was asking for more creamer. I let the words settle, took a slow sip of coffee, folded the paper. "Is that all?" I asked casually, flipping to the sports section. Her face twisted. "Are you kidding me, Jack? Damn it, put the paper down and talk to me." I set it down, looked at her, really looked. The woman I married wasn't there anymore. Maybe she hadn't been for a long time. "I have nothing to say," I said, "except goodbye." Her lips parted in disbelief. "That's it, goodbye. That's it. You haven't been worth a damn as a wife in over a year, so go ahead and leave." I stood up calm as a man making a grocery list. Walked into the home office, pulled open the drawer I hadn't touched in weeks, and took out a small brown envelope, a pen, and a fresh notebook. I sat back down at the table, opened to a clean page, and wrote, "Dear Damon, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank God she's leaving me." I paused. Thought about the tattered edges of our marriage the nights she came home late smelling like citrus cologne, the lies that sounded rehearsed. I reached into my wallet and pulled out the lottery ticket I bought the night before. Slipped it into the envelope, added one more line. "Maybe if you're lucky and win, it'll be enough to keep her satisfied so she won't cheat again. Good luck, kid. You're going to need it. A very grateful Jack." I sealed the envelope, stood, and handed it to Melissa. "When you see him, give him this." She took it, stared at me dumbfounded. "You knew," I nodded. "Just because you think I'm ignorant doesn't mean I am." "When did you find out?" 18 months ago. Her hand trembled. "Then why didn't you say anything?" I took the envelope back from her hand. "Because I wanted you to think you had the upper hand. Because I wanted to see how far you'd go. And because, frankly, I didn't care anymore. You're not throwing me out. You already left Melissa. You left the day you climbed into a motel bed with someone else. I've just been waiting for your body to catch up with your decision." "I'm not going anywhere," she snapped. "I'm not moving out just so you can bring some bimbo in here." I didn't reply. I filled my travel mug with the rest of the coffee, tightened the lid, and walked past her like she was furniture. At the door, I stopped. "By the way, don't bother trying to clean out the bank accounts today. I've already been. And don't bother using the cards. They're canceled, all of them." She looked like someone had thrown ice water in her face. Her voice cracked. "You're serious? Dead serious?" I walked out the door, clicking behind me. That morning I visited 3 places. First, the Wells Fargo branch we shared, where I drained every last cent from our savings and checking accounts. Then I emptied our safety deposit box, birth certificates, insurance documents, title to the car, the last 2 CDs she didn't know I had. Next, I went across town to my own bank and opened all new accounts in my name only. And then I made one final stop, my lawyer. Alex Matthews had been my best friend since college. He listened to everything without interrupting. At the end, he shook his head and muttered, "Jesus Christ, Jack." "She wants out," I said, "so I'm giving it to her." "Clean?" I smirked. "Oh no, not clean. Calculated." Alex leaned back. "Okay then, let's get to work." That afternoon, after leaving Alex's office, I drove back to work, like nothing had happened. My office was the same, quiet, efficient, and under control, just like I'd always kept it. I stayed late not because I had to, but because I didn't want to see Melissa. Not yet. I needed the rest of my plan to be in place first. Around 7 p.m., I texted Rachel, my executive assistant, and asked if she wanted to grab a quick dinner at Delaney's, a small bistro a few blocks from the office. She said yes. When she arrived, she looked surprised to see me out of my usual buttoned-up shell. I'd removed my tie, rolled up my sleeves, and had the kind of weariness in my eyes that spoke volumes. "You okay, Jack? I'm back on the market," I said. She raised an eyebrow. Really. As of this morning, Melissa told me she wants a divorce." Rachel set her wine glass down, leaned in, and smiled slightly. "To hell with my sister, then." I laughed. "Wait, what?" "Nothing," she said with a wink. "It's just, if you're single again, I'd like to be first in line." It was the first time in a long time someone made me feel like I had options, real ones. We talked for another hour. Nothing serious. Just the kind of light, easy conversation I'd forgotten was possible. When we walked out, the fall air was crisp and clean, like the start of something. But my night wasn't done. I went home, and as I pulled into the driveway, Melissa's car was still there. I took a deep breath, parked, and walked in through the garage. The house was silent. She was at the kitchen table, papers spread out in front of her. She didn't look up. "You're still here," I said, heading straight to the fridge and grabbing a beer. "This is my house too," she replied without emotion. "I'm not leaving until I can make other arrangements. If you don't like my company, you're free to move out. Not in your damn life." I cracked the beer open and leaned against the counter. "Sit down," she said. "Let's talk this through. There's nothing to talk about, Melissa. You want a divorce, so get it. Hire a lawyer. Pay the court costs. I'll fight you tooth and nail for every fork and lamp in this place." Her head snapped up. "What the hell is your problem?" "My problem is, I let you cheat on me for 18 months because I didn't want to believe I married someone like you. But now I know better. So yeah, I'm going to make this hard. For every lie, for every night, you snuck out, for every time you smiled at me with his hands still on you, I'm going to drag this out. You want the coffee table? I want it too. The couch. Sentimental value. The blender. It blends my anger real smooth. You didn't even flinch this morning," she said bitterly. "I told you I wanted a divorce, and you didn't care. That was before I let myself remember the 3 other times you pulled this crap. I let you off the hook then. I won't do it again." She flinched. I saw just a twitch in the corner of her eye, but it told me everything. "You thought I didn't know," I said, voice low. "I knew, every damn time." Silence. I stayed. I continued, because I thought maybe I did something wrong. Maybe you were mad. Maybe you needed to act out. I told myself you'd come back to me because you loved me. Turns out, I was just a convenient place to land. She turned away, unable to meet my gaze. I looked down at the floor, then at her. "I wanted revenge, Melissa. Real revenge. I wanted to hit you, break things, watch you bleed, like you made my trust bleed. But I'm not that man. So instead, I'm going to let the law do what I can't." I took a step closer. "You can stay for now. but we're done. You move into the guest room, and you stay the hell away from me." Without waiting for a response, I walked upstairs. Max followed me quietly. I closed the door to what used to be our bedroom, took a long pull from my beer, and stared at the ceiling. I thought about the letter, the envelope, the lottery ticket. If Damon was half as dumb as he looked, he might not realize the ticket was real. But if he did, maybe I'd get a phone call. And that would be the next move in this very calculated game. The next morning, I was up before the sun. Melissa's door was closed. I didn't bother knocking. I walked Max showered, dressed like it was any other day. But it wasn't. Today, I'd take back control. I stopped by the local Wells Fargo right as they opened, smiled at the teller like I wasn't about to pull the financial rug out from under my soon-to-be ex-wife. "I need to close our joint accounts," I said, "and empty our safety deposit box." She asked if I had authorization. I slid both our names across the counter. 10 minutes later, I was walking out with certified checks, a small lockbox of documents, and a calm that felt dangerous. Then I headed to my own bank. A smaller branch, tucked behind a gas station a few blocks from my office. I opened 3 new accounts in my name-only checking savings and a separate legal expense fund. I wasn't just planning to survive this divorce. I was planning to win it. After that, I drove to work. I didn't go in. Instead, I parked, pulled out my phone, and called Alex Matthews. He picked up on the second ring. "You ready?" he asked. "Let's light the match," I said. We met at his office downtown. Alex had already prepared the paperwork divorce petition, temporary restraining order request, and a financial disclosure statement that painted Melissa in the worst legally acceptable light. I skimmed it, signed, and handed it back. "We serve her Thursday." "At work," Alex said. "Perfect. She likes dramatic entrances. Let's give her one." Alex laughed. "You sure about the restraining order?" "I'm not scared of her. I'm scared of what she might ask Damon to do if I push back." He raised an eyebrow. "That won't hold in court." "I don't need it to hold. I just need it to stick long enough for her to stay out of the house." He nodded slowly. "You really thought this through." "I've had 18 months, I said." After we wrapped, I grabbed lunch alone at a corner deli, then drove straight to the post office. I pulled the brown envelope from my coat, the one with the lottery ticket, and my handwritten note to Damon, and slid it across the counter. "Certified mail," I told the clerk. "Signature required." As I walked out, I pictured Damon's face. That smug Jim Harden jackass opening the envelope, reading my words, and realizing he wasn't just dealing with a betrayed husband. He was dealing with a man who played the long game. That evening, I stayed late at work again. I wasn't avoiding Melissa anymore. I was setting the pace. The more I made her wait, the more unsteady she'd get. I texted Rachel, "Still up for that drink you mentioned." 10 minutes later, we were sitting at a dimly lit bar near the office, the kind of place where the music is soft and no one asks questions. "You look satisfied," she said, tilting her glass toward me. I just took the first step in erasing a mistake. She smiled. "Let me guess. You mailed something nasty," I smirked. "Something better than nasty. Something smart." We drank, we laughed, we didn't talk about Melissa. For the first time in months, I felt human again. When I got home, the house was dark. Melissa was in the kitchen, surrounded by boxes, but nothing was packed. Just paper everywhere. Tax records, utility bills, marriage certificates, as if she'd just started to realize what divorce really looked like. I'm not moving out, she said without turning around. Don't care, I replied, walking past her. You can't just kick me out. You already did, when you gave your loyalty to someone else. I opened the fridge, grabbed a water, and leaned against the counter. You don't get to make this easy, she hissed. You don't get to be the calm one. You're right, I said. So here's the truth. Every piece of furniture in this house now has sentimental value. Every fork, every mug, every damn curtain. If you want it, I want it more. Why are you doing this? Because I was good to you. I said, my voice low and flat. Because I cleaned up your messes. Because I swallowed my pride every time you worked late or came home wearing a new perfume. Because I let it slide. I walked closer, stopped just short of her. But mostly I'm doing this because you thought I wouldn't. She said nothing. I took a sip of water and turned to go upstairs. At the base of the steps, I paused. By the way, I added without looking back, Thursday's going to be a bad day for you. Then I climbed the stairs, each step echoing like the countdown to a reckoning. 3 days later, I was sitting at the bar inside the Hilton downtown, finishing a steak sandwich and nursing a cold beer. The papers had been served that morning, right in the middle of Melissa's team meeting at work. Alex said she turned pale, stammered something about a private matter, and left the conference room like a storm cloud on legs. I thought I'd feel triumphant. I didn't. Not yet. I was halfway through my beer when someone slid onto the stool next to me. Can I buy you another? The man asked. I turned cautious. He was broad-shouldered, mid-30s, tanned like he spent most of his time outdoors. His eyes were tired. He wasn't wearing cologne, but I remembered that citrus scent. It clung to Melissa's clothes for months. You're Damon, I said. He nodded. Yeah. There was an awkward silence as he flagged down the bartender and ordered 2 more beers. I didn't mean to screw things up for you, he said, eyes fixed on the bottle in front of him. He started peeling the label, little flakes of paper gathering on the bar top. She wasn't wearing a ring when I met her, he continued. Didn't act like she was married. Said she lived with her disabled mom. Told me you were an ex. Controlling. Said you hit her. I stayed silent. I believed her, he said. For months, I was going to propose. Bought a ring and everything. I raised an eyebrow. He laughed bitterly. Yeah, I was that stupid. He took a long drink, then wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Then a guy I knew told me she was married. Said she'd cheated on her husband before with his brother. I didn't believe it until I got your letter. He reached into his coat and slid a small envelope across the bar, a cashier's check. I unfolded it and saw the amount. That ticket, he said, it hit. Not a jackpot, but enough to matter. I waited to give you your half until I was sure the divorce was official. Didn't want her to get a cent of it. I stared at the number. Why, I asked. You could have kept it. I'd never know. Because I'm not like her, he said quietly. And because I figured you'd earn this more than I did. He finished his beer and stood to leave. But before he walked away, he turned back and added, I miss her, you know. Not the lies, not the drama, just the body. The way she made me feel for about 5 minutes at a time. I didn't reply. There was nothing to say. After he left, I sat there staring at the check. A waitress came by to clear my plate. You look like the cat that just ate the canary, she said with a wink. Lunch that good, I smiled faintly. Better than I expected. When I got back to the office, Rachel was in the hallway carrying a box of files. "Hey, boss," she said. "You look oddly victorious. Let's just say karma sent me a thank you note. Remind me never to cheat on you," she teased. "Remind me never to get married again," I replied. But this time, I wasn't entirely sure I meant it. In my office, I tucked the check into my drawer and exhaled for what felt like the first time in weeks. Melissa had lied to me. She had lied to Damon. And she had lied to herself. But she hadn't won. Not even close. That night, I didn't go straight home. I made a pit stop at the hardware store and bought a new set of deadbolts, a smart lock, and a couple of motion-detecting security cameras. I wasn't just protecting my house. I was protecting peace, the peace I was building brick by brick after 18 months of quiet war. Melissa wasn't home when I arrived. Her car was gone, probably licking her wounds somewhere or planning her next move. I didn't care. I spent the next 2 hours changing the locks and installing the cameras, one in the kitchen, one in the hallway, one facing the garage entrance. Nothing illegal, nothing hidden. Just enough to record what I already knew she was capable of. Then I gathered her things, the ones she hadn't yet taken, and neatly packed them into boxes. Every last scarf, yoga mat, and bathroom lotion, labeled and arranged in the garage. When I was done, I grabbed a cardboard sign and wrote in thick black Sharpie, "Melissa, all your stuff is in the garage. You're not welcome inside." I left the garage door slightly open, left the lights on, and I waited. At exactly 5:46 p.m., her car came screeching into the driveway like a bat out of hell. She stormed up to the garage, froze when she saw the sign, then tried the door into the house. Locked. She rang the bell, knocked hard, pounded. I didn't answer. She screamed, called me every name in the book through the door. I stayed silent, sitting calmly at the kitchen table, watching the camera feed on my phone. Eventually, she left, but not for long. 2 hours later, after the sun had gone down, I heard the garage door creak. She was back. I knew the moment she used her old remote. I had deliberately left it active bait. She came in through the garage door. I watched from my phone as she stepped into the kitchen. The moment she realized the cameras were on, something snapped in her. She began smashing things. Plates, glasses, pulled open cabinets, and threw mugs across the room. In the living room, she knocked over a lamp, then another. She stormed upstairs, yanked open the bedroom closet, grabbed armfuls of my clothes suits, jackets, shirts, dragged them downstairs and into a heap on the floor. Then she did something I will never forget. She pulled down her pants and urinated all over them. On camera. No screaming, no dramatic monologue, just quiet, vicious madness. And I smiled. Because now I had everything I needed. I called Alex. He picked up immediately. She's in the house, smashed half the kitchen, and just pissed on my clothes. There was a pause. Tell me you got it on video. Every second. The next morning, 2 officers from Charlotte PD showed up at Melissa's office and walked her out in cuffs. She was charged with violating a restraining order and destruction of property. Booked, fingerprinted, mugshot, the works. I didn't go to court that day, but Alex did. He said the judge watched the footage in stunned silence. When it ended, he removed his glasses, rubbed his eyes, and said, "Make the restraining order permanent. And I want her to pay for every cent of damage." Melissa was given 10 days to pay for professional cleaning, dry cleaning, and repairs, or face jail time for contempt. I hired the most expensive cleaning crew in Charlotte, made sure they documented every stain, every broken dish, every odor. She paid. I don't know how or who helped her. Maybe her parents, maybe Damon. But she paid, and part of me hated that. I wanted her behind bars, even just for a night, just to feel what it's like to be powerless, trapped and humiliated. But I guess humiliation wears many forms, and hers was far from over. The following Saturday, Rachel and I had dinner at a cozy restaurant with candlelight and soft jazz playing. We didn't talk about Melissa. We didn't need to. She smiled at me across the table. So, is this what freedom tastes like? I looked at her. Really looked. No, I said. This is what peace feels like. And then I took her hand, and I didn't let go. 6 months passed. Spring rolled into North Carolina like a warm sigh brushing against my porch with blooming dogwoods and the faint scent of cut grass. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks ago. It was a clean break if you didn't count the years of betrayal, the silent dinners, the venom soaked into every cracked word between us. I won't lie, the court process wasn't easy. Melissa tried everything. She pushed for $500 a week in alimony, claimed emotional distress, accused me of financial manipulation. She brought in a lawyer with bleached teeth and no soul. But Alex shredded him in court with calm precision and a stack of damning evidence. We submitted the video footage. We filed copies of the restraining order bank, withdrawals receipts for repairs her destruction. Hell, even Damon's check was notarized and included in the packet. It painted a picture not of a scorned wife, but of a woman who detonated her own marriage and then blamed the debris on everyone else. The judge, a grizzled man with gray temples and no patience for theatrics, listened carefully. And when he ruled, he didn't blink. Melissa would receive $100 a week in alimony for 2 years, or until she remarried, whichever came first. We split the remaining assets down the middle. But the house, I kept it. I refinanced it and wrote her a check for her share. I would have paid double. She moved back in with her parents in Atlanta. Rumor was Damon had dumped her weeks after she lost the house, told her he'd only ever wanted the fun, not the fallout. No surprise there. A woman who burns her bridges eventually runs out of places to stand. As for me, I was building something new. Rachel moved in the month after the divorce was finalized. Not right away, we took our time. But there was no drama, no lies, no masks, just slow mornings, strong coffee shared playlists, and a softness in the house that I hadn't felt in years. Then one Tuesday morning, she stood at the bathroom door holding a white stick in her hand, her eyes wide and blinking. I think we're going to need 2 cribs. I stared, then blinked, then laughed so hard I had to sit down on the toilet lid. We were having twins, and just like that, the final weight of Melissa was gone. All that remained was her name on an old mailbox I never bothered to replace until the day Rachel stood with a fresh one in her hands and said, "Ready. Today, I work from home more often." I painted the old guest room a soft forest green, hung up mobiles and alphabet posters. I installed a baby monitor where the security camera used to be. Funny how the same space that once recorded betrayal now listens for new life. Sometimes I still think about that morning at the kitchen table, her mug, her voice, her coldness. How she thought she had the last word. How she thought she was walking away while I'd be left picking up the pieces. But in truth, she never walked away. She ran from guilt, from consequence, from herself. I didn't just survive her, I outgrew her. I stood at the nursery door last night watching Rachel fold tiny onesies, her belly round her smile tired but true. "You okay?" she asked without turning. I stepped in, wrapped my arms around her from behind, kissed the side of her neck. "Yeah," I whispered. For the first time in a long time, I actually am. We didn't need revenge to move on. We just needed closure and two little lives to remind us what beginnings feel like again.